All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for sharing your evening with us this evening to learn more about the Norwood Road Shared Use Path Project in Olney. Um, Before we get started, let's go over the meeting agenda. First, we're going to discuss the public meeting format and go over some basic Zoom meeting controls. We will then discuss the background information of the project, existing conditions on Norwood Road, the proposed design, project status, funding, and schedule, and then we'll have a question and answer and comment session. I do apologize. The meeting was originally scheduled for 6:30 to 8. However, the library closes at 8 p.m., so we have a hard stop at 7:30 this evening. All right. So before we begin, we'll go over the basic Zoom controls to assist you in case you're not familiar with the platform. This meeting is being recorded. If you do not wish to have your voice or likeness recorded, please use the chat box to submit any questions or comments. The chat box icon is on the menu bar at the bottom of your screen. The video and presentation slides will be uploaded to the project website tomorrow by 5 p.m. All right, your microphones have been muted and your cameras turned off. To reduce the bandwidth of tonight's meeting, please do not turn on your video camera. Following tonight's presentation, you will have the opportunity to provide provide comments and ask questions. To request speaking rights, please raise your hand following the presentation. Alternatively, you may type your questions and comments into the chat box at any time throughout tonight's meeting. All right, raising your hand. To raise your hand, you will click on the React icon at the bottom of your screen and then click Raise Hand. Once invited to speak, please unmute yourself by clicking the icon that looks like a microphone, which is on the bottom of your screen in the lower left-hand corner. If you have called in by phone tonight, you will press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. The chat box icon is on the menu bar at the bottom of your screen. Please be sure to direct all chat messages this evening to tonight's host and co-host by clicking on the caret beside the everyone in the blue box. To change your view so that you only see the presenter, click on the caret beside the video camera icon on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You will then click Video Settings. A pop-up menu will appear. In the bottom menu, scroll down and click Hide Non-Video Participants. And now I would like to introduce Huang Nugent, who is the project manager. She will be presenting. Huang?
So good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Huang Nguyen. I will be the project manager for this Norwood Bikeway Shared Use Path project. I will be working under direction of Miss Rebecca Park here. And us will be partnering with an engineering firm who are doing the actual design for the project. And that's with Mr. Mercado and Miss Katie. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is kind of an overall map of where the project is located. You can see here is at the southwestern end of the Sandy Spring area, a little bit borderline of the Olney area. This just kind of give you an overview of where it is. Next slide, please. Okay, this map is going to give you a bit more detail about what's going on. Before we go into the map, though, let's kind of talk about the bicycle master plan. The goal of the bicycle master plan is to have bicycle as a viable mean of transportation throughout the county. And to achieve that goal, some of the some of I guess some of the goals we're trying to highlight is that we need a bicycle network that is, first of all, safe, comfortable for riders to use, and that is connected throughout. So with that said, we'll dive into some of the lines and colors you see here on the map. So if you look at the green lines, right, those are the existing shared use paths within this, this triangle here. So you can see that they're kind of segmented and not connected. Then that's the some of the projects you see there on the screen. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to connect this triangle. So not only is it connected as a whole, but it's connected to other parts of the county. To dive into some of the projects itself, what you see in red along Dr. Bird Drive is another project that's running a little bit ahead of the projects that we're here to discuss today. That's, I think, is at about 100% design right now, and then falling right after that. Okay. Hello. Okay, it's working. So just to kind of reiterate again, the very first project we want to take a look at is the Dr. Bird Drive and Norwood. They're also shared use path, connecting the south shared use path here and the north shared use path. This project is a little bit ahead of the project that we're here to talk about, which is this blue segment right here. Once this is completed, then our project should be following right after. And after that, we have projects that's going to be managed by SHA, which will run along 108 here. And we have another connection being made by the Friends Group. And as you can see, once all of these projects are completed, we kind of make a complete connection of the Heritage Triangle Trail. And like I said, like I mentioned before, it's not only connecting the trail, but it's connecting it to other parts of the county via the existing shared use path. So more specific about our projects, we're just running from where it intersects 108 all the way down to Ashton Forest Way. And that's primarily what we're here for today. So next slide, please. Okay, and so to get into the more technical stuff, I will turn over to our engineering consultant, who will give you more details.
All right, thank you, Juan. My name is Michael Mercado. I'm with Mercado Consultants. Our office is right in Ashton, so about 1 minute from this project site. If you live in this area, you've probably seen our office. We're Montgomery County local small business. I drive by this site twice a day, and I've probably driven by it at least hundreds of times in the past couple of years. So we know this area really well. We're excited to work in an area that's so close to our office. Okay, so first thing I'm going to go over with you guys is the existing conditions. If you're on this road, you know it, but we'll just go kind of briefly through it, and that will help set the stage as to what we're doing with the design. Right now, Norwood Road has 2 lanes, one each direction. They're roughly 10 or 11 feet wide, and there's no pedestrian facilities at all, starting at Ashton Forest Way all the way up to only Sandy Spring Road, so MD 108. Meaning right now, if you want to go visit anywhere in Sandy Spring, Ashton, you're essentially walking on the side of the road or even on the road. This first photo here on the top left, that's if you're looking towards the intersection with 108. On the left side there, it's a pretty heavily forested area. And these photos are taken as you're going kind of down the road. Some other points of interest. Okay, right here, this is a little further down, so on the top right. That's if you're, same thing, looking towards 108. Right now, when it rains, the water along this road, there's no curb and gutter, there's no storm drains. On the east side, there is some swales that pick it up a little bit. On the west side, there's not really anything. It just kind of runs on the edge of that road and at the bottom of the properties, and then it just accumulates there and goes on the road. So that's not the best of drainage situations, obviously. At the bottom of that hill, which would be just north of Ashton Forest Way, you can see right here in the bottom row in the middle. That's a photo that I took right after it rained one day. It kind of just ponds there. It's a soupy mess. And then eventually that water gets high enough and then it sheets over the road. So anybody on the southeast side of this project, that stormwater makes your way into your yards, your backyards, inundates that whole area. So we're going to go over in a second what the proposed pedestrian and bicycle connectivity plan is. There's also a little bit of a stormwater aspect to it that will improve some of these drainage conditions. So before we do that, though, let's look at the very bottom right picture. This is if you were looking at Ashton Forest Way, that's on the right side there. The reason I bring this up is after this point on the south side, there is an existing shared use path, and we're going to be tying into that as part of the project. So we're connecting what's already there. Okay, Lori, can you go to the next slide, please? So let's dig down into the nuts and bolts of what we are proposing. This is the proposed design starting from MD 108. So the way this is oriented is the left side of what you're looking at, that's the north end. So that's the intersection of, again, MD 108, also known as Olney Sandy Spring Road and Norwood Road. And then as you move to the right down this page, you're going to the south. So here on the bottom, this is the west. On the top, that's the east. Our proposed design is to place a 10-foot wide shared use path along the west side of Norwood Road. That path would consist of two different materials. The majority of it will be asphalt, and that extends from Ashton Forest Way all the way up until roughly where the parking lot is for that vet facility. To the north of that, it's going to be a pervious pavement. That is a requirement to meet stormwater management, water quality code requirements for the project. So you might ask, okay, why 10 feet wide? 10 feet wide is what is specified by the Montgomery County National Park and Planning Commission, MNC PPC. There's a guide, the Complete Streets Guide, that was published by them. Their recommendation is 10 feet wide. That's why we're proposing that width. The path is not going to be directly next to the road. There is a grass buffer there. The reason is it just prevents a greater level of comfort for pedestrians and cyclists. And the second part of that is we're planning on putting curb and gutter along the west side there. Again, if you remember that previous slide that I showed you with the photos, when it rains, that storm water is going along the edge of the road there. It's accumulating and presents a kind of hazardous situation. If there was a lot of water, this curb and gutter will collect it and get it off the roadway and into another location. So part of that grass buffer, that's where we're gonna place the storm drain in that grass buffer area. Okay, so this is the first half of the project. Why don't we go to the next slide, please? So this is the left side of this page is picking off where the right side was on the previous. Okay, so again, Norwood Road, the left side of your sheet of this page is north, the right side is south. Here's Ashton Forest Way all the way on the bottom right. That's the end of our proposed alignment. Again, the shared use path, we're proposing a 10-foot wide asphalt path. We'll show you guys a typical section in a second. It's the same section that I just presented to you previously. That storm drain system that we discussed, that is we're proposing to discharge that up here to the east. And then at the top of your page, that is the closest drainage ditch in the project. There is no other discharge point besides that location. As it is right now, stormwater goes down Norwood Road and then essentially inundates these three properties until it makes its way to the back. We've gone out there several times when it rains to confirm these drainage patterns. On the southern end of the project, again, the path is going to continue, and then it's going to tie into the existing network there across Ashton Forest Way. And that, if you guys probably drive this all the time, it then continues down past his friend's house, goes to Dr. Bird Road. And then, as Juan mentioned earlier, this is part of the Heritage Triangle Trail. There are other projects associated, but not specifically for this meeting. We're just going to tie this area into a triangle. So eventually you'll be able to take a bike path all around in a triangular fashion. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? This is a typical section. So if you can imagine, if you slice the roadway and you looked at it, another way to think about it is if you were driving down the road, what you would see through your front window. And on the left side, this is if you're looking south. Okay, so imagine if you turn down from 108 and are driving south down Norwood Road, this is what you would see. So again, southbound lane of Norwood Road, left side is the northbound lane. On the right, you can see the proposed typical section. We have a curb and gutter. We have a grass buffer that varies in width depending on where you are, the 10-foot shared use path, and then we're proposing lighting similar to what is there right now on the south by Dr. Bird Road. So this section is constant the entire width, with the exception of the portion that is right by MD 108. For that, instead of an asphalt path, it would be a pervious pavement section. But for all intents and purposes, it looks the same from the surface. Okay, Lori, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, this is the project timeline. I'm going to turn it back over to Juan. He's going to go over that, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so just kind of earlier we kind of touched a little bit about the construction of sequence about the different projects. So this slides give you a tad more in depth of what's going on with this project specifically. So we've completed the 30% design, 60% design, and right now we are, in the fall of 2024, we are approaching our 65% completion, which is why we're here today, kind of present to the public our design. Most importantly, what we want to do is to get your input, your feedback. We're listening to your thoughts, because you live here, you know things that we don't know. And that's primarily why we're here today. Following this meeting, we're planning to gather all your feedbacks and update our design as needed. And we're going to present our design to the planning board for a mandatory referral. After that, we're looking to complete the design sometime in fall 2025, and hopefully begin construction in summer 2026 and have it completed by fall 2026. Next slide, please, Lori. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of a breakdown of the project cost. Overall, we're estimating it to cost about $1.98 million. With the design cost at about $375, it'll take cost about $150 for land acquisition. So relocate some utilities will be $100,000, and most of the project cost, as with most project, is with the construction, which is at $1.35 million. Next slide, please. Okay, so for your thoughts and your input, please have your comment. The due date you see up there are just when we try to get comments in by it. It is by no means, a hard deadline. You can still submit comment after that date, but you can submit it to me. Call me directly on my phone, and if I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. You want me to call me back or want me to call you back, leave me a voicemail. And again, that's my email address there. I will field all your comments. I'll gather everything. So again, just please write to me. Any thoughts you have at all. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that's pretty much wraps up our presentation regarding the project. Now's the time for Q&A questions. Anything that you have, any thoughts you want to give to us? Okay, so Lori, you want to take over?
Sure. Let's see. I do have some people signed up to speak. Let me just see who's here. It doesn't look like they're. Well, none of the people who signed up to speak are actually in attendance right now, so I don't have anything for you, Juan.
Yes, sir.
Show us the slide where you show the alignment and the easement. Going back. No, like a plan view.
Yeah, Lori, can you go back a few slides to the,
Absolutely.
has the aerial imagery?
The first
Yeah,
one and the second.
This one.
Okay.
The orange color line is an easement and a drainage line, right?
The question is, what is the orange color line? The orange color lines on there are the existing property lines. Okay, that red line there is the proposed right of way. And the purple would be an easement.
I guess you're calling it purple. That's you creating a new easement there, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'm talking, yeah, about the one going vertical. That's a drainage easement. That's a new one, right? And this goes into my property up there. And you proposing, yeah, you're proposing to dump stormwater into my property. Why didn't you use the existing easement on here? There's an existing easement here that you can connect to a drainage area here.
Question. Okay, the existing easement is actually owned by Parks. There is a small parcel there. It's maybe about 15 feet wide. That's Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission property. So to use that easement and to put in a storm drain, we would have to remove all the trees, which would be a significant impact to Parks. But that's not the main reason we did it. The main reason has to do with the drainage profile. So the low point on Norwood Road is not actually at Nesbitt Farm Lane or Ashton Forest Way. That part of is actually about 10 or 15 feet higher than where the low point is. The low point is, if you see on the bottom, right where that road starts to curve, where it's no longer straight, that's that low point. So in terms of elevation, to go up there and then back, it just doesn't work with gravity. You have to go up and then down. So once the water has gone down, you have to keep going down till you reach a discharge point. The current drainage patterns that are out there right now is, as water goes down Norwood Road, it is going through those 3 properties or 4 properties just to the north of Nesbitt Farm Lane. It's going through their front yards, their backyards, and kind of making their way through a series of, they're dry all the time, but when it rains, and then it makes its way to your to that, I'll call it a drainage swale that's on your property. It's really what it is.
Right. It does, yes.
So it does make its way there. What we are proposing to do is collect the water in a more organized fashion, as opposed to letting it go through everybody's yards, collecting in a storm drain system, but then providing a system that both slows down that water when it comes out and reduces that velocity. So that's, if you look at, it's a little bit hard to see, but where it says storm drain outfall, that's called class 1 riprap. It's essentially stone. It looks like this. It's blue in color. And what does it? It breaks up that water velocity as it comes out. It slows it down and discharges it in a more orderly fashion.
Beyond the yellow, you mean there is some kind of swale with stone on it?
This project is, so what we did is we evaluated the velocity that's coming out of that storm drain pipe. And there are design guides for how to dissipate that velocity, essentially how long to place the amount of stone and what the width and the length is. And so we consulted those as we designed that length of that riprap. So by the time you get to the end of that yellow section there, that velocity is slowed down to a point where it's no longer erosive to a just a natural environment, grass, soil, so forth.
It's on the surface though, right?
It's on the surface. That's correct.
You cannot bury that pipe and connect it all the way to the park area? I mean, bury it versus on the surface and connect it to the park. Dump on the park, public
If I
land
may.
versus private land.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize the environmental impact. Your suggestion will cause removal of forest. I mean, lots of trees back there. So to minimize the land disturbance and the impact on the trees, we identified that location as the outfall of the storm drain pipe.
There's a culvert on my land. You can connect to that culvert and you can go. You don't have to cut any trees. I live there. I know the area. There are no trees. There's a culvert you can connect to.
Property, you have already taken a right away on our property, but this is the second one you're doing, and you're just dumping the water on the land.
When you said second one,
The drainage.
This is an easement here, and it's our land. We own it, but it's an easement, but we own it.
You still not solving.
The easement you're referring to grants access for driving and accessing your properties.
No driving, no. There is another one next to it, which is green, that has utilities in it. There are no trees.
So a utility impact is different than a DOT impact. Remember that. A utility impact doesn't necessarily allow storm drains. It allows for WSSC, gas, telecommunications. It depends on who has the actual easement. When we did our deed research for your guys' parcel, we did not find any that allowed the use of a storm drain currently. We can certainly meet you guys out there on the property and go through it, of course.
We provided comments a few months ago when you send us the designs.
I think we'd be more than happy to meet with you guys at your property and walk through it.
Yeah, we don't like the storm water being dumped on our property. I don't think that's proper.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we made the limits that much was to limit the total impacts to your property. Knowing that the further you go along that, essentially that swale, the larger impacts it is. Our default design is always to minimize the initial impacts to the property owner. The property owner is more willing to, it's something we can discuss. I think that'd be worth a discussion outside of this meeting if that was something that would interest you.
Yeah, and it impacts actually my neighbors, which is O'Brien's, because this line goes into the O'Brien's.
Yeah, the top left
And
property.
then it goes
right.
into my property. I think that's the property line between the O'Brien's and myself.
Yeah. Well, and we noted that water is coming in there right now, and essentially where it all goes. Yeah. Well, we are burying it up until that where that yellow point is. So
Comes out at the yellow point.
yes, that's correct.
I think if we can meet at site and discuss it to
Oh yeah, we absolutely
for
can.
both sides to understand.
we'll take a look at it. We'll do the another field assessment.
We want to be there.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. That's fine.
Thank you.
Again, I said, let me correct that, environment impact. Trying to minimize the environment impact.
All right, does anyone else have any follow-up questions? Okay, so does anyone online have questions that they would like to ask?
Yes, actually, we'll hear from Sterling Findley. Sterling, can you unmute, please?
Yes. Hi, Lori.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I really like this meeting. It's very interesting, and I like it.
That's great. Thank you for your comment.
Yep.
Okay, here you go, sir.
Yeah, two questions. One is, do you have the funding? Has that been approved in the budget?
Funding.
Do you have the funding approved in the Montgomery County budget or MDOT
Yeah,
budget?
this is funded through the bikeway program, we have a CIP, I can't remember the CIP number, but this is funded through the county's bikeway program, minor project. Yes, I mean, okay.
Okay, because we're talking 2025 breaking ground, right? So to 26, even breaking ground, and you budget annually. So has this been forward funded?
It's in the bikeway program budget, yes.
Okay, and my next question, could you go back one more slide to the further north on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned two things. You mentioned about environmental, right? You're taking out trees. Are you going to replace the trees that you take out?
We do the landscape plan, so we will plant trees that we remove.
You'll replace trees that you remove because that original diagram, the aerial is not accurate, right? There's a huge parking lot there for the vet hospital.
Yeah, that's new. That's
Right. There's a big parking lot there. And part of the condition that they got the approval for that parking lot was that they would not develop any of that undeveloped land, that would remain natural, right? Where you've got the
That's a
path.
forest conservation easement. We are aware of that.
Correct. Okay, because you're biting right into it, right? You're going
We
20
are
feet.
going through the process of the forest conservation easement amendment through parking planning.
Okay. And then the next question, you have the proposed easement, right? I look at the property next to the hospital, that hospital, and the easement there, that's an existing property line, I believe, correct?
That's the existing county right of way. They
Okay.
already own that part.
Right.
Yes.
But the next piece over, it says proposed right of way. So what is the existing property line on that property?
It would be the orange line there below the green.
So to the road.
Just a little bit beyond the edge of the road.
Okay. So you put in a budget of 150K for property acquisition. Is that affecting those properties where you're putting in a proposed easement?
So that's what you saw, that number is estimate that includes all the land acquisition we're
Understand. It
acquiring.
says that you put a bucket, a placeholder in there for 150K,
Right.
but that's for the acquisition of that.
It includes that, yeah.
Correct. To acquire the 10 feet or 20 feet, whatever you need to get those properties. Okay. I think that's my question. The concern, I think, for most of the residents there is minimizing the environmental impact with it. 20 foot, is a big chunk of people's property to take there. And there are a lot of trees in that 20-foot right of way. I mean, there are a lot of trees in there that I think you want to be sure you've got money funding. Yeah.
Sidewalk, but we want to minimize the amount of space or yardage that you take from our yard. I mean, I don't want half of my front yard to be gone.
Right. So this is not sidewalk. We're building a shared use path.
Sure.
When I say shared use path, it's a share between pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah. Understand. Yeah. We're not saying sidewalk. We understand what it is.
We're very much for this, obviously, but we have a full line of privacy trees in the front that we're going to lose.
Yeah. So as a part of this project, we will work with you to plant the species, the tree species.
Understood. And we just.
We will have to
They're gonna move
relocate it. We always do as a part of our project. We can temporarily relocate the mailbox and also identify their permanent location.
Right. But they have to be on the road because that's where the mail delivers, right? The mail delivers them on the road, so they have to be relocated. Yeah, okay.
The bottom of the driveway gets reconstructed.
Okay.
It's a concrete, but your mailbox, it would still be on the road just next to the driveway.
Right. And my final comment, and it's not related to the construction, but it's related to the DOT, is there been any consideration of traffic control after the shared use path is created? Because you're definitely gonna have more pedestrians now going down that road. People drive, they fly down that road. There is no speed constraint on that road. There's speed cameras on 108, but that's a real concern. and whether it's, speed bumps, speed cameras. But I think there has to be a consideration of that because people fly down that road.
I mean, it's dangerous. I walk every day and I'm afraid to walk down there because there's no shoulder. I don't want to have to drive to walk. And so I really am excited to know that they're gonna put this path in. But it's still dangerous. It's still very dangerous, because people do fly, that they use it as like a speedway.
Right, right. And as I was explaining to Ms. Marty Levin earlier today, I mean, traffic safety is a real issue all over the county, right? So our project, again, just to stay on focus, we are just building the shared use path. Traffic, speed, speed limit, people volume, signs, crosswalk, pavement markings, those things. What we can do is we can collect all of your concerns, and we're going to forward it to our traffic expert. Basically, they're basically they handle everything traffic related. Not only are they going to take your concern, they usually are very good about sending people out there, doing an assessment, doing the data collection, and coming up with a solution to the concerns that you have. But for the sake of the project, we don't include it because it would be way out of our scope. So again, like I said, I understand. I used to be in traffic, just kind of a side note. So I completely understand your concern when it comes to traffic safety. So again, I'm going to take all your comments, all your concerns that you have, and I'm going to forward it to the appropriate people who will be able to help you.
Thank you. Are we recording this, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Can we get a copy of the recording?
It will be on our website.
Great.
On the website. It'll be on the website tomorrow after 5 p.m.
I think we have to go online first. Marty, we'll take your question right after the online question. So Lori, go ahead. Hello.
Hi, this is Chris Milner. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. I just wanted to, I'm a member of the equestrian community here, and I don't think there's an issue, but I just wanted to raise to your attention, if you go to the next section south of this, please, I think it's the next page. There is an equestrian trail that crosses Norwood Road and will cross the shared use path. Again, I don't think it's an issue, but I just wanted to make sure that had been, that you were aware of that and that had been, on your radar. If you go one section south, please.
Lori, can you go to the slide? There you go.
Yeah, so there's an equestrian trail that comes out Ashton Forest Way, and then it crosses Norwood Road, and it continues on Nesbitt Farm Lane, just to the south of Nesbitt Farm Lane. Just wanted to make sure you had that on your, and those trails are recorded on the plats for the Ashton Forest development and for the Nesbitt Farm development. Again, it's really just crossing the shared youth path from east to west. But I just wanted to make sure that was that you were aware of that and didn't, for example, create a fence or something inadvertent that that didn't respect that existing equestrian path.
Right, right, and we'll take those. We'll take your concerns into consideration, and we'll make sure we don't impact the trail. Was that all, sir?
That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Marty Levin, and I live at Friend's house on Norwood Road. I ditto your speed issue concern, and I'll tell you what I just did and got a response yesterday and today from traffic. My question is, and I'm just curious, and I don't know, I don't understand a lot of it, but over at Friend's house, we have retention ponds. Would that be any part of this consideration to help the flow? No?
The flow is not large enough to require one. Retention ponds are very large impacts too. I mean, you're talking significant property impacts if you need one. It was not needed for this project.
All right, I was just curious. Thank you.
Lori, do you have any, do you have a virtual attendee that has a question? Lori?
Sorry about that. Actually, Debbie Kowalski has signed up to provide comments, and she is now in attendance. Debbie, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry about that. And you might have already covered this, but I was interested in knowing about the path between Dr. Bird and the end of Bancroft, whether or not there's any plans to create a road or a path for us to get all the way to 108 so we can get into Olney.
So you're asking for asking for a Heritage Triangle Trail project. We are getting close to the 100% design. Our goal is to get the design completed by the end of this year or early next year. Right now, we haven't received all the permits that we needed for the project, but once we get all those permits, we can start the construction, hopefully maybe next spring next year. And the construction duration will be 6 months.
Yeah, my question was about the other side of, not on Norwood, but on Dr. Bird, because even if you extend this, we still have no way of getting into Olney. Like there's no sidewalks, there's no paths on 108. And we're just wondering, there's just a very short distance from the end of the bike path by Bancroft and to like what used to be the by the theater, just to get that little stretch.
Lori, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Lori, can you turn to the slide that has the vicinity map that shows the project background information? So can you zoom, Lori, do you think you can zoom in on that map? No?
I can zoom in.
Okay. So I think you're asking about that the segment along MD 108, share use paths from Dr. Bird Road.
Yes, okay.
Norwood Road. So that's it. So the yellow line along MD 108 represents the portion that SHA, State Highway Administration, is currently designing right now.
Okay.
And we closely coordinate with SHA monthly basis. They're at 60% design stage. And in terms of construction schedule, I think it's 2 years from now, but they're only at the 60% design stage, just like us.
Okay. That gives me some information. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
How much land are you acquiring?
For this project, we don't have do you have the square footage information?
How did you estimate that line item? 150,000. How did you come up with that estimate?
For that,
Can you talk?
Can you go back to the slide, Lori, with the aerial imagery?
Yep. Do you want north or south?
I mean, any of these are fine. This type of project is very common in the county. We look at it at a per linear foot basis. So using that, we're able to extrapolate, okay, on a previous project with this many linear feet, this was an approximate property acquisition cost. Okay, this project is X number of linear feet. So it's kind of a
So what's the
ratio.
estimated number of linear feet?
off the top of my head. Well, the project is roughly around 1,500 linear feet. I would say it's probably about half that. There's already a lot of existing right of way that we're trying to utilize as much as possible.
Any other questions?
Sure.
Just real quickly, and I'm one of the homeowners in the community and impacted and try to be a good citizen. The only way I found out about this was a flyer in the mail a week ago. It was in today's Olney Gazette. But do you have a distribution list of the homeowners in the area that you can email them updates? So that I know that when the Veterans Hospital put their parking lot in, they had a whole distribution list that they communicated to the veterinarian hospital. But is there, communicating, keeping us all informed and updated is really important for your stakeholders. But if you've got a distribution list, I think it's better than I know my neighbor didn't hear anything about this. I'm sure he threw the little flap away. It looked like a marketing piece. But is there a more, a communication plan to let everybody know status? I know you've got the whole construction designs that you're starting. You've got easements for construction vehicles and that kind of stuff already drawn out. But is there a plan or an ability to more effectively communicate with all the property owners who are?
So we have the project website where we upload the latest project information, such as a schedule and the latest plans. And but we don't send out monthly letters because this is a design process, and then it sometimes takes several months or a year to finish the design. What we do is after this hearing, we, as Huang explained, we'll go through mandatory referral through park and planning. It's another opportunity for the community to speak up their concerns or ask questions, and that is hosted by the park and planning. After that, we'll also the county, MCDOT will hold a public hearing, which allows the residents which ask residents or citizen that's concerned about the project can give a oral and written testimonies. So that's another way of, showing the comments, showing the feedback. We work proactively with the community, and we answer any questions that come through the phone calls and emails. So, you have a Huang's contact information. So, you can send us as emails as you want, and then we'll, answer questions.
Anybody participating has gotten the word and they're engaged. But I think there's a lot of people who are unaware, who have not gotten the word. And is there, beyond sending a mailing to the residents at the property, is there any other way that you're reaching out to them?
So we typically send the mails within quarter-mile radius from the project site, and we also send the spread words to the affected homeowner associations, civic associations, and whatnot. And we do that. So
okay, I think Bancroft is the only homeowners association affiliated here, but
we don't have your private email.
Well, and
Right.
understood, but the Montgomery County Planning Group did. They had a distribution list when the veterinary hospital was promoting their parking lot. They actually sent to everybody up in Ashton Gardens and everybody down. Everybody got an email. They had a distribution list. I know it because they shared it with me. But is there any other, even on your website where you can sign on, Huang, to get information? Can people log in to get notifications. Put your email in here. We'll send you updates via email. I just think we're in the 21st century. We got to be doing better than snail mail.
Yeah, I understand. Right now, no, but that's a great idea. The county had distribution list for larger scale projects like Whiteland West Workaround. That was a 3 years of construction duration. We send out monthly letters religiously. But for this, as for smaller scale,
Well, this is one phase, right? This is 1,400 feet of a much larger project.
yeah.
So again, I think everybody impacted by the larger scale and scope of the project, if they could go to the site, put in their email address and get notifications via email, automated, I think that would be a more.
But what
effective
kind of updates are you anticipating
So-
that you will receive?
Anything you need to tell us. You tell us what you need to, what we need to know. Yeah, if you.
But-
Right, we've modified this design.
So we put up, what you're looking at is the 60% design stage, which is one of the milestone design stage. We put up our 35%, 60%, 90%, 100% design plans on the project website. No, we received the feedback from you, and we will address your concerns and comments in our next submission, which will be 90% design stage. Yes.
Was very useful, and we thank you for that. All the drawings were attached to the letter, and that's how we came to know about the project. So that was a good thing that you've done. We thank you for that.
Thank you.
We have responded to you and you haven't responded back, and we are impacted substantially by this. And you should have responded to us. We gave you comments and you didn't respond to them. And it doesn't seem like you even acknowledge them or even understanding the area. There are no trees. I just want to say that one last time.
Oh, I'm sorry that you didn't receive I'm sorry you didn't receive the acknowledgement letter. That acknowledgement response should have gone to you.
Questions, my husband.
We did receive questions from the Department of Permitting Services, who is that kind of central agency where it goes through. I responded multiple times to them over email. If you did not receive their response, I can follow up this following week and making sure that you guys got the response that I provided to them.
We got a generic boilerplate response saying, we got your comments. Thank you very much. That's it.
The response that we provided was much more detailed. I went into flow rates.
We did not get that.
Velocities. Okay. If you did not receive that,
No.
I will look into that. That was DPS's responsibility to submit it to
We
you.
just got a generic thing.
Yeah. Let me look into. I think we should talk after this discussion. I think that'd be very useful. Yeah.
So moving forward, contact Huang and email him the questions, and then he will circle back to Mercado and me and others, and we'll properly address your questions. So we apologize for this that happened. I wasn't aware of that. DPS was. Yeah. Okay.
I will look into.
So just to reiterate, I'll be your main contact point. If you have any concern at all, please feel free to email or even call me and I'll get back with you. Okay? Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, so Lori, do you have any questions or comments coming from virtual attendees?
I have Steve Ashurst.
Okay. Steve? Steve, you must be muted. We cannot hear you.
He's unmuted,
Oh,
but I don't.
we only got 5 minutes left.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
I I just wanted to make a quick comment, and I wanted to thank you for doing this as hybrid because I wouldn't have been able to make it in person. I appreciate the 10-foot paths. That's something I'm really going to make use of. And I wanted to comment that I think that bringing this whole project together, you know, and the larger design and the connectivity it brings is just, it's incredible. And I hope you continue to do this throughout the county. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, okay.
No.
All right. I think that's it. Well, thank you all for your attendance. The recording of tonight's meeting will be posted on the project website after 5 o'clock tomorrow. Any questions you might have, just send Huang emails and phone calls, and we'll try to answer as quickly as possible. So, all right. Thank you.